Live on Facebook, guys.
Live.
Not on Facebook,
We're live.
but we are. We're live.
You can see us. All right.
Yep.
Oh,
Good.
it's now streaming on live on Facebook. Hi. Yes, in the corner.
Here we go. It's working. It's working.
Yes.
All right. I think, yes, she can see us now. Okay, perfect. Little technology challenged here, but we did it. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today to discuss the importance of maternal mental health, especially in times of COVID. I'm Kara Hamilton McGraw. I'm the Director of Maternal Infant Health and Government Affairs at the March of Dimes. Here at the March of Dimes, our mission is to fight for the health of all moms and babies. We support research, lead programs, provide education and advocacy so that every baby can have the best possible start. Of course, the best possible start for every baby and the health of every baby starts with mom, and that includes mental health. If I could, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if you guys are as well. Could you put yourself on mute until we're ready to begin the panel? And I'll give you a brief introduction. I'm joined today by some leading experts in Michigan, and I'm so proud that they were able to join us and can call them partners with the March of Dimes. I would love to be able to tell you all of their achievements and everything that they do in their worlds, but I just don't have enough time for it. So I want to give you a bit of their background. Today we have Brooke Miller. Brooke, can you give us a little wave so the folks know which one is Brooke? Oh, they can see it on your screen. Okay. Brooke is a licensed psychotherapist. She's the founder of Honey Space for Moms, the first perinatal mental health center with on-site childcare and co-working space for moms, which is located in Ferndale, Michigan. It's such a cool place. It really, really is. Thank you for joining us, Brooke. Next, we have Dr. Music. She's an associate professor at the University of Michigan Department of Psychiatry and Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She's co-director of Women and Infants Mental Health Program and director of Zero to Thrive in Michigan. Hello, Dr. Music. Next, we have Lakeisha Grant. She's a home-based teacher at Focus Hope in Detroit, where she oversees staff doulas and early Head Start home-based teachers. I can also tell you that if there is any forum in the city to improve the lives of moms and babies, we're gonna see Lakeisha there. So thank you for joining us, Lakeisha. And we have Laura Smuts with us as well. Laura is a certified nurse midwife at Women's Excellence in Ann Arbor. Laura has a special focus on prenatal care, contraception counseling, and breastfeeding support. She also happens to be a new mom herself, and so has recent experience navigating our topic today, maternal mental health. Hi, ladies. Thank you for joining us. First, we're going to start our discussion today to talk about what is maternal mental health. So this is, we hear of this often. We hear, postpartum depression, anxiety, baby blues, all of these different definitions, but what does that mean and what does that look like? Dr. Music, can you give us some insight on that?
Oh, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me and being part of this wonderful panel here and for March of Dimes, Michigan to host this discussion round. So I am by training a psychiatrist and also a psychotherapist. And when we talk about perinatal mental health problems, we basically think about it as any emotional problems, issues with anxiety, depression, stress, and maybe even kind of more severe problems like losing touch with reality, what we call psychosis, that is happening in this perinatal period and is related to bearing, being pregnant, or the birth or postpartum. So let me define a little bit those terms. What does perinatal mean? It comes from the Latin word peri, which means around, and natus, which means birth. So it's the time around the birth, which we define as the time before birth, pregnancy, and maybe even preconception, in the time where the woman might be trying to get pregnant. And then the time after the birth. And generally, we refer to this in the mental health field as the first year of the baby's life. And during this time period of perinatal mental health, women, in fact, have a higher likelihood to show some of issues with depression, anxiety, and adjustment problems. And depending on the severity or the timing, we have different terms for it. So if we talk about pregnancy-related issues, we call it prenatal depression or anxiety, or antenatal depression, anxiety, which are the most common. I want to talk about how common. Then we have issues that are happening immediately after birth. And that is mostly driven by the massive hormonal changes that are happening with the birth, as well as the exhaustion, the physical exhaustion of the birth. And then, of course, sleep deprivation, and kind of these first couple days or weeks are very stressful. And that time period of the first 1 or 2 weeks is very prone for mood changes, whether anxiety or depression. And that is actually almost normative. And for that, we have a name, and it's called the blues, the baby blues. This is a time where there are some mood instability, maybe some tearfulness, some sleep problems, even if you could sleep, some moodiness. But usually this gets better by itself without any treatment. There is another condition, and that's called postpartum anxiety or depression. Often that starts farther out in the first couple of weeks after the birth. So depression could start postpartum after the birth, around 6 weeks and beyond is the peak. And that's very important to differentiate from the blues. So if someone gets really depressed and severely depressed, with, in addition to having some anxiety or depressed mood, tearfulness, thoughts of guilt or hopelessness, and maybe even hopelessness that would lead to some feelings of giving up and suicidality, that is not the blues. That is severe, moderate to severe depression. And as we know, 1 in 5 women experiences that. So that's very important to differentiate. And then lastly, anxiety, postpartum anxiety, could happen within, again, most often within first couple days or even weeks after the birth, where it's peaking. Very important that some women experience all these depression and anxiety symptoms already in pregnancy, and then it might just go on postpartum. But in at least 50% of cases, it starts after the birth. So we have different terms that we need to differentiate. The least common is what we call psychosis, which is women being so severely impacted, both in their mood, but also in their cognition, that they start to lose touch with reality, maybe have even new experiences like perceptual hallucinations, hearing voices, or having delusional thoughts. That is very rare. It's 1 or 2 promille. So 1 or 2 in 1,000 that experience these symptoms. These are very severe and are called psychiatric emergencies. The important piece is that we really focus on depression, anxiety, adjustment issues, stress, because they are so common. As said, 1 in 5 women. And that's the bulk of the problems that I think we need to help women that they don't suffer, but they get help, because we have very safe and effective treatments and support.
I'm sorry, and sleep deprivation is real. I remember that.
It's one of the drivers. So really, if we talk about what are the reasons why why a mom, a woman would be impacted. Sure, you might have a pre-existing condition, you might have had depression or anxiety before, but that's only giving you some increased risk, because not everybody who ever had a depressive episode before or had anxiety before has a kind of a decompensation in pregnancy or postpartum. It's additional pieces that are playing a role, additional major stressors maybe in your life circumstance, or, as I said, the hormonal change. Everybody has that, and you might be particularly vulnerable to that. You might already have had PMS, like premenstrual syndrome, that was severe, so you might be a little bit more at risk because you are more sensitive to hormonal changes. And lastly, the sleep deprivation, and if you have a very difficult time falling asleep, even if you between the feeds with your baby, or if breastfeeding is difficult and that stresses you even more, all of these are additional very important drivers.
Speaking of additional, COVID itself brings it with it, some additional challenges or barriers that maybe your friends that have babies or relatives, they didn't go through those challenges. It was a different time. So Brooke, I was hoping we could have you talk a bit about the social support or support systems that can be important in times like this for mom, especially when baby's new. But I feel like all moms, there needs to be social support in some sense. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me? I'm having some issues with my internet, I think, but are you guys, if you can hear me, then I'll just.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. So yes, social support. And it's so interesting, this whole idea of social distancing. I'm like, stop that term, make it stop. Social distancing is a really dangerous term, I think. And I think it's incorrect, right? We are physically distancing. And we have been physically distanced for quite a while now, about 5 months plus. That being said, there is social connection that can be manifested while physically distancing. And I think it's really important to differentiate the two. I think a lot of people understand that and kind of know innately that we're physically distanced, not socially distanced. I think it sends an unfortunate message to our brain when we use the term socially distanced. There is so much social connection needed to be able to I don't know, just create community and be mirrored and reduce isolation. So isolation of all the things that Dr. Music was talking about. Isolation is almost that thing that if you pour it on any of them, they just blossom and grow even more intensely. Isolation is just the catalyst of growth, the water to any of those seeds. And so here we are in this COVID time of physical distancing, and there's a lot of isolation being felt. I think that there is so much room for emotional connection and social connection even during this physical distance time, and it is incredibly important to find those social support systems that feel really effective for each of us, so that our levels of isolation go down, right? We can talk to a doctor about your levels of inflammation in your body, or protein levels, or how much sun you're getting, or whatever it is. And we have to really remember that mental health is not always I don't know, held in the same regard as physical health often, but there are certain levels that we have to be really aware of in our mental health for our overall wellness as well. So your levels of isolation and where you're at and how it's affecting you, everyone is different. Just like levels of inflammation in our bodies. Some people can handle a higher level of inflammation, others have a really hard time after eating one meal that has animal products in it. You know, their inflammation can skyrocket. So when we talk about social support systems, the term support system, I think a lot of people equate that to family, and it doesn't need to be family. I think this is not about who is supporting you, it's about how they are supporting you. So you can have people in your life that are important to you, that are valuable to you, and in which you are important to them and valuable to them. That doesn't mean that they are the proper people to be in your core support system. I always feel like our most effective support systems are those in which are filled with people, and it could be one person, 2 people, 20 people, again, depending on your need and your levels, right? How introverted and extroverted are you? Are the people that truly see you for who you are, hear you for what you're saying, and love you without condition. Now, we would all be so lucky to have more than one person in our life like that, right? That's a special kind of relationship, and that is a special kind of gift to have those types of people in your life. I think it's really important to remember that we don't have to be supported or ask for support from people who may not be capable of giving us the support that we need. And we are all deserving of a high level of support. So I have a lot of moms at Honey, and I know we'll talk about, you know, our Honey later and what we do, but we essentially create community among moms. And I have a lot of moms who come there that say, I love my partner, I love my friends from before I became a mom, I love my family, and they're important people in my circle. However, they're not my core support system. My core support system are the 4 moms that I connected with in my mom's group who just get me and hear me. And I feel like I can tell them about my rage and they don't judge me. They don't think I'm a bad mom. And, you know, I can tell them about how I don't want to breastfeed anymore because, like, screw this. And they don't judge me, you know, all those things. Who are the people that you talk to? You're like, they just don't judge me. They just love me. That is what a support system truly is. And so understanding that and realizing and noticing how you're feeling around certain people in certain conversations, I think we can experience things like Zoom burnout because we constantly talk to people who are not our core support system. We're constantly feeling like we have to be something and, you know, check some box. But then all of a sudden, I lead a support group at Honey, and they're like, oh, this feels so different than all my Zoom meetings today. I guess it's not Zoom burnout. I guess it's just like burnout from being with people who aren't like my people, right? So it's noticing the quality and the quantity of support in which you have around you. And everyone deserves high quality social support systems. You can manifest high quality social support systems even while physically distanced. And we'll talk about a lot of those resources later. I think that the bottom line is to know that you deserve high quality support systems, and they can be there, and they are available to you even in the era of physical distancing. So
I love that. I love the physical distancing, not social distancing. I like that.
yes.
She coined that. In the vein of support, there are different kinds of models of care that can fit different personalities. So there's group prenatal care, there's one-on-one traditional care, but there are also some traditional kinds of providers that can offer support that not everyone could be aware of. One of those is a doula support. Lakeisha, since you are a doula and you work with Focused Hope. Can you tell us a bit about the kind of support that is unique to a doula?
So, doulas are to build a relationship with the mom and get her wishes met and to support her on her journey through pregnancy and after the baby is born. So, a doula is just there to listen to mom and help her advocate for herself. And just being a listening ear and giving her different options to think about, different ways to go on her journey. So we create birthing plans and we try to stick to it. And we stay away from being very judgmental. We know that things happen, so we revise things. Mom may want to breastfeed and may start off breastfeeding, and that may not last, and that is okay. We're here for what mom wants, and we want to make the journey as smooth as possible because we know that after having a baby and while being pregnant, you are experiencing a lot. Those emotions are high. You're feeling more sensitive and overwhelmed. So we're here for you to call us and say, today is not a good day. And I need someone to bounce some thoughts, some what I can do to bring my self back up because I'm feeling down. And so oftentimes they're calling Monday through Friday or even on the weekends and evenings. And as a doula, we're keeping notes of different things they may express. They have health concerns, and oftentimes we're able to go to the prenatal visits if they offer us, can you come? And we'll come to prenatal visits and oftentimes remind moms of the different health issues she may have brought up Tuesday evening that she didn't remember the following Monday for the doctor's appointment. And just doing what's best for mom and not letting her be so overwhelmed on a journey that is already kind of stressful because your body is going through a change. Mentally, you're going through a change. And then just life changes is happening. So you're always changing. And so doulas are there to really just support the mother and let her voice be heard and her wishes to be fulfilled throughout her birthing journey, because that birthing journey is the best journey to motherhood. So we're there to really just help.
So encouraged to hear our Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and our Governor Gretchen Whitmer to really observe the importance of a doula. And in times of COVID, when they're restricting who can come to the hospital and who can be in the room with mom and how many, that they have recognized that doula isn't a visitor. Doula is not just a visitor. So if you want your doula, you don't have to say, sorry, partner, you can't come in, I need my doula, but you can have both. And I think that really, that's fantastic.
Yes, and I appreciate them. We're pushing really hard to be noticed, to be a part of, the birthing team, the labor and birthing team at all hospitals. And so it's really looking like it may be headed in the right direction for us doulas.
That's good. All positive news right now. It's great. and Laura, certified nurse midwives offer a certain level of support too that folks might not be familiar with if you only have the traditional physician nurse model. Can you tell us a bit about the role of a nurse midwife?
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, a certified nurse midwife is initially a registered nurse who goes on for further training, a master's degree in midwifery. And so we provide care to women throughout the lifespan, teenage years through menopause, but our main focus and specialty is pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum. So we are kind of on the front lines seeing women for all of their prenatal visits, forming a relationship with them and their families. And we really try to empower them to make informed decisions in their healthcare. So because we're working with them so closely and so frequently, we really try to create a supportive and trusting environment so that they are able to come to us and seek us out if they are having any concerns or just struggling. And we kind of try to help them identify their support system and connect them with other resources. So it is a unique position. We do get to spend usually a little bit longer than a traditional OB would in terms of appointment time. So we have a little more time to talk through some of these things, be that support person if that's what they are looking for, and make sure that things are getting followed up on, that we're not just, sending them out the door quickly with a quick visit, but make sure that we have a plan. One thing I like to do is identify those people who are going to be the support people, who they can talk to, whether it be family, getting them in with a support group at Honey, which I do all of the time, or just kind of helping them figure out, if they have other children at home, who's going to support them with those children, and kind of just getting them, make sure that they're kind of thinking about those things during pregnancy, in order to plan for the postpartum period as well, so that they have some sort of plan set up for who's going to support them, because we're not supposed to be doing any of this alone. Pregnancy or postpartum, being a new mom, and COVID makes that a lot harder for these moms.
I'm on mute there. I muted myself. It sure does. COVID is unique. I don't think, I know that our generations before us, our mothers, our grandmothers, they don't know what it's like having a baby during a worldwide pandemic, do they? Brooke, I'd like to circle back to something you started talking about when you talked about physical distancing and not isolation, social isolation. We're hearing all these messages right now, right? Just stay in your home. Don't leave your house unless you need to. Stay close in a circle, people within your household. It's dangerous. Don't go out. Don't seek other people. We're hearing all these messages, but at the same time, is that the healthiest for mom? How can mom, succeed? How can she thrive in these times of social isolation?
Yes. Well, I'm like socially isolating from my children right now. I'm sitting on the front porch hiding because they're inside. So I apologize for the weird background of my front porch. I keep moving around trying to find a space where the sun's not in my face. So I think that when you ask the question, what is safe for mom? I think the answer in part is, it's a complex answer, but at the simplest terms, it's what is safe for mom is what she feels is safe for her, right? So this is really a time where judgment has to be, at all times, I have lots of things to say about how we judge and when we judge and why we judge and how to squash that. But right now, more than ever, judgment has got to be checked. We are doing the best we can with what we have. Information is inconsistent at best, and moms are seeking their internal instinct, their maternal internal instinct to decide what is best for them. So if you see a mom out and about and your opinion is that she shouldn't be, take a minute and decide where that opinion is coming from. Are you worried about her? Are you worried she can't take care of herself and her baby? Are you not trusting in her maternal instinct and her knowing for herself and how to take care of her and her baby? Are you worried for yourself? What is going on to lead us to judge people for the choices that they are making in the way that they take care of themselves and their babies and their children? It's a much bigger conversation, right? I have elementary school age kids, and all the chatter about what everyone's doing. It's pretty profound. So what is best for mom is what is best for mom, is what is best for her. It's not a one size fits all. Nothing is. Whether we're talking about the way in which we birth, the way in which we nourish our babies, the way in which we sleep, the way in which we educate, the way in which we walk and talk and hold our babies, all these things, there are a rainbow of variations to have a healthy relationship with our bodies and our babies. And there are certain things that are not healthy, and those are the times that, you know, we can have a different conversation. But most of the things that we're judging are actually just different variants of healthy approaches to parenthood and motherhood. So it's really important to remember that even with physical isolation, we can, like I said before, we can manifest social support, and emotional isolation is very different from physical isolation. That's why the social distancing term feels really uncomfortable for me, because physical distancing can be something that feels important for you, but emotional isolation is problematic, I think, for anyone, unless you are mindfully choosing to emotionally isolate because you are introverted and you get out, right? So what is best for mom is what she feels is best for her, and that can only be clarified when she is given the time and the space to connect with her maternal instinct, which comes from social support and comes from mental health support and all those. It's all connected, right? We can't listen to that gut feeling, that maternal instinct loud and clear when all these other pieces are out of whack, right? So therapy and group and education and all these types of things to quiet the rest of the noise so that our maternal instinct can be the loudest voice in the room, and we know exactly what it is that we want, and we know exactly what it is that is healthy for us. And then we surround ourselves with people who are like, yeah, girl, I got you. Like, I totally with you. You may do it differently than me, but I respect you and love you. You do you. That's the recipe, right? It's a easier said than done, right? But that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're having this conversation for. I think people forget it. It's not that complex when we really talk about it. It's just getting those pieces in place and being willing and having the level of self-respect high enough to be willing to allow those pieces to fall into where they need to be. So yeah, I don't even know what the question was.
No, that was a great
Isolation, what's best for mom, right? So,
no, but that's true. You know, mom knows what's best for mom and baby. I love that. I think that's great. Dr. Music, did you have something to say?
I just love what was said, and of course I you know, we have decades of evidence that we are all social individuals, and that we are hardwired to be connected and in relationships, and this social support that we need, really biologically we need that there is research to show that, support that, is both emotional support. We need that, that loving, nurturing context, and we need informal support, direct support, you know, hands-on support, and that's through the physical distancing harder, right? We still can get emotional support through our friends over Zoom or you know, through the media, but it's harder to get that physical, direct, hands-on support. So I'm totally with you, and at the same time, I want to highlight what I said before, is that in the context of the biological changes that happen with birth, in the context of sleep deprivation and exhaustion that happens to the body and the mind, and in the context of social stressors that might be, you know, violence, exposure to racism, exposure to injustice, that might be in the here and now, and that might be historical and long-term and chronic. For some individuals, And for many, actually, that's what I talked about. It's 1 in 5. The stressors are so overburdening the system that it is beyond just saying, gosh, I know what I need. I have a gut feeling. You might not, because you actually might have clinical depression. And that's where your body is signaling you, I actually really need to reach out and get help. And I want to caution us that for some in these instances, it's really important that your network, your social support network, or others around you um, actually are helping you have this kind of healthy way of guiding you and saying, I think we need to reach out and get some professional help. This is beyond what you can manage on your own, and not feel like this is a failure, this is a character flaw, or gosh, I should be able to do this on my own. Actually, there is good reasons, biological and contextual, that maybe it's too much. The wear and tear on your body and mind is too much, and you might have developed clinical depression or anxiety. So don't worry and don't feel the stigma of reaching out and getting professional help, because really we have very effective, safe treatment modalities, from psychotherapy to even medicines, that can make a difference in a quick time, in a short time, in a couple of weeks, or 3 months, and you're back to your game. So let's not kind of underestimate that some moms might not be able to just kind of get better just with some encouragement from your family or your faith community or your friends. Sometimes we need professional help, and I bet that that's also what all of us are referring to, providing, guiding, and building education on.
Absolutely. I mean, what I think it's really sort of the order of things is when a mom is able to connect with what her voice is saying and what she really wants, in my experience, has often come after that mental health support, right? And sometimes it's in the form of private therapy, sometimes it's in the form of group therapy. But I have truly never met a mom, myself included, who, you have a baby and like, everything's great and I can connect with who I am and I connect with my inner voice and I know what I want and I can speak up for myself and stand up for myself. It's just, that's a really hard recipe right there. So when I'm talking about, and I appreciate the clarification, because when I'm talking about what is best for mom and mom knows what is best for, it's in there. And often we need help to bring it up and out. And so, like I said, those pieces are in place, including support for mental health. And Maria, I love what you said. Like, sometimes what mom knows is that she needs help, or she may need support in knowing that. When a mom comes into a group or Honey for Anything, I'm like, congratulations, look at you. Like, you must have a lot of self-respect for even just walking in the door, and knowing that you don't know exactly what you're here for, but you need something and you deserve something, and that's a really big deal. So that's that initial knowing that I think is incredibly important when we're talking about maternal mental health. That knowing and that willingness to seek support. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to chime in. And some moms know that there may be something going on and they're afraid to say that something's going on due to how someone may perceive what she's going through. A lot of the moms that I work with are in the inner city of Detroit, and anything that shows that, I'm sorry, interruption, sorry. Anything that shows that CPS or anyone can get involved, they may not want to express the true concern that they're really having. But I oftentimes I oftentimes reassure them that I'm here not to judge, but more so to help and give out resources.
And I'm so happy that you say this, Lakeisha,
Yeah.
because that is exactly what we need to do and advocate for. We as professionals, but also supporting the moms that they speak out. We need to break down the stigma and the ignorance of the maybe medical profession or the psychiatric profession or the social work profession. It's not about it's about really supporting and embracing and nurturing moms and their families, broader family, the parenting partner, the whole family, in being the best parents they want to be and giving the support they need, not for punishing them for failing because we set up the system in such that it's unjust and doomed to failure. And in the same vein, psychiatry, instead of being, the scary thing out there saying, something is wrong with you because you might utilize this help. In contrast, it's about us having a nurturing, supportive, and loving stance, and working together with other providers like the OBs, the family docs, the pediatricians, and all the nurses and the midwives and the doulas and folks in the community to really create this loving and nurturing support network where everybody can chip in and support mom and family in succeeding. We need to be a society of succeeding, making people help them succeed, not pulling the rug under them, right? Taking away their support networks and the finances and not giving them health care and being racist and then saying, oh, well, you didn't succeed. Wonder why.
Right. It's so much also education. Sorry.
Go right ahead,
I have a delay, so I don't. I was thinking about just like what the birth class idea. So a lot of OBs and even midwives, recommend, or some even require, some recommend childbirth education classes, right? For educating our moms and hopefully partners or support networks around the experience of birth and having a healthy birth. But one thing that's always missing that I found, so I added it to our class, but I just think it should be in every single class, is the mental health aspect of childbirth and of that perinatal time. Because I think one of the challenges is that no matter how amazing, everyone is around you and supportive, there are myths about maternal mental health that braid through our social construct around parenthood. And those myths are perpetuated by the media. They show really terrible, terrible things that can happen, and then they call it postpartum depression. It's not postpartum depression, it's postpartum psychosis. And that's rare, as Maria said, very, very rare. I mean, I'm making a very generalized statement here. I'm not talking about a specific news story, but in general, there's a lot of incorrect information about what diagnosis means, what behaviors mean, who is dangerous, when are they dangerous, who are they dangerous towards, who are they not dangerous towards. And there's just misconceptions. And I think educating parents and as many people as we can, particularly, like you said, Maria, even psychiatrists, even OBs, midwives, people who love and care about moms and parents so much, yet still have bought in unintentionally to a false narrative about what these diagnoses can actually look like. And so moms are scared. I don't want to tell anyone I'm feeling this way because they might think I'm nuts and take away my kid. I don't want to tell anyone about my intrusive thought that like every single mom I've ever met has had an intrusive thought. I always ask moms, raise your hand if you haven't had an intrusive thought after I teach them what it is. Never has anyone raised their hand in 5 years of moms groups, weekly, all the time. Everyone has intrusive thoughts. So when you have an intrusive thought and it feels crazy, you don't want to tell anyone, because what if they actually think you're crazy and then they call CPS, right? So it's understanding where those thoughts are coming from. It's understanding what they mean. It's understanding the difference between, them being dangerous and not being dangerous. So there's so, in this conversation, this panel about maternal mental health, I mean, the number of things that we could talk about here, and Maria and I have, every single time Maria and I talk, we have to someone has to cut us off and tell us to okay, it's time to hang up. You have another meeting. Every time we're oh, we're running late. I'm sorry. Because there's just endless amounts of things to talk about here. And education is just such a huge piece. And when parents don't know what these diagnoses are, what they look like, what they don't look like, they are scared as hell to tell anyone about their feelings. And then they keep it inside, and then it gets moldy as hell. And then it turns into something else, and it's a mess. It is a mess. So when we can find ways to support parents in opening up and sharing earlier, it is incredibly, incredibly helpful for this in our society. We make the people. We make the people.
People, we make the people, we raise the people.
We make the humans in our world. How are we as parents not the most important, conversation of mental health ever? See, I told you someone would come out eventually.
Yeah, and
we're very important. We're making the people.
They found you, Brooke.
They found me.
Found. Lakeisha, thank you for lifting up some of the experiences you've heard from moms, because speaking of education, we know this anti-racist movement that I personally am so encouraged and so glad to see it playing out in peaceful ways, and see there's a real aptitude for change, because our African American mothers, especially in Michigan, have sometimes, depending on the factors, not sometimes, but depending on the factors, can have poorer birth outcomes. And there's unique challenges to that. So I feel an aptitude in the medical society and the maternal child health society, and we got to look at this. Why is this? Where is this lack of support, and all of the things we're discussing today in maternal mental health. So thank you, Lakeisha, for bringing that up. We could go on forever, and we could talk about this forever, and maybe we'll have a part 2. But right now, I'd like to tell our March of Dimes audience a bit about resources. We've talked about, what can some of the problems look like? What are some ways that we can mitigate that with different social support, or what support construct for you looks like? Want to talk about some resources, because in the comments here on the Facebook Live from March of Dimes, we're posting some websites and resources for places you can go if you want more information about doulas, or midwives, or what is postpartum depression, what's perinatal mood disorder. You'll find some really good resources in the comments, but the best resources we have right now are our speakers right here. So if I can just ask each of you to tell us a bit about your agency, and tell us about some resources or services you offer the groups. And if you don't mind, I'll just go on my little Brady Bunch box so we're not all talking over one another. And Laura, can I start with you?
Sure. So I work at Women's Excellence. We have offices all over Southeast Michigan, and our model is that women would, all women are able to have a midwife. Of course, if any complications, we do have our physician colleagues, but we want midwifery care for all, so that all women are able to have that, in-depth and family-centered care. So when I'm seeing women throughout their pregnancy, in terms of mental health, we're identifying the resources that they have in place, like we said, family or friends, talking about things that they can do on their own to help with mood, exercise, outdoors, and then, identifying the women that do need a little bit more than that. So connecting them to, one-on-one therapy, to group therapy at Honey or elsewhere, and referring to psychiatrists if needed as well. So we're gonna see women throughout their entire pregnancy and be able to support them and make sure that we have a plan and identify those women who need a little bit more than that. So that's kind of what our support is throughout the agency. Oh, you're muted.
Swear, I need to start a jar. Every time I do that, I need to put a dollar in the jar. But thank you, Laura. The next on my box is Dr. Music. Would you mind telling us a bit about your work?
Oh, absolutely. So thank you. Well, I told you I'm a psychiatrist and I direct a whole psychiatric psychological well-being center here at Michigan Medicine at the University of Michigan. It's located in psychiatry, but we have satellite clinics also across the OB clinics in Michigan Medicine. And we basically serve, I would say, not only Southeast Michigan as a center for psychiatric care, but across the state as consultants, either telepsychiatry or phone consultation to both the moms themselves, but also to providers who provide care, in different OB clinics across the state, because it's not for everyone possible to come, physically to our center. To be honest, now with the move towards virtual care, we are actually doing a lot of psychiatric and psychological consultations and services across the state virtually, and so provide both psychiatric assessments, psychological assessments, individual psychotherapies, group psychotherapies. And our lens is also not only the mom herself and her mental health, but in some way the family as a whole. And that includes also supporting mom in her parenting, supporting the family in parenting. So we also offer groups for dads. We offer groups for the whole family, offer groups to support the parents interacting with their infant or getting to know the infant. So we call it Thrive with Your Baby support groups, because parents need sometimes, they have questions or would benefit from some pointers in a nurturing fashion. And I would say the hallmark of my center or program, it's called Zero to Thrive. It is really the beginning from ground zero to thriving, supporting the whole family, particularly families. I feel strongly about that. Families who are challenged with adversity, and adversity could be medical, pre-existing condition, could be psychiatric pre-existing condition, or any traumatic experiences, again, current or historical. We feel very committed to supporting families who are living, not the American dream, but living the injustice of this society, and supporting them with all our means in thriving for themselves and their children and the whole family. So check out our webpage. It's www.zerotothrive, all one word, .org. And we have resources, we have little video clips, we have handouts that you can download. We created a coloring book for little parents with little kids, so you can talk about COVID. We have a whole COVID resource. Everything is free. Just go and use it. That's the whole point. It's all created with the family in mind. And please, my last kind of statement is, please, if you do feel like, gosh, I would like a little bit more support, don't be scared of psychiatry. I do think that our supports, our psychiatric care is a very nurturing and loving one. And we are really holistic in that care. So this is not just, sedating with medicines or, some of these kind of scary things that are out there.
Yeah, those antiquated, in the movies that we see about psychiatry. I do also want to put a plug, Dr. Music, for that coloring book for children to help your kids, to help talk about COVID with your children. We've sent that to many, many partners and volunteers of March of Dimes. Great, wonderful feedback. So I do encourage folks to take a look at that.
Called Georgie and the Giant Germ, and it was it's installed in the National Library of Medicine as it will be kept there for generations to come, so that it's in some way as a memorandum for this time period we all go through. And please use it, download it, and use it as a talking point with your kids.
It really is well done. Lakeisha, can I throw it to you? Tell us a little bit about all that Focus Hope does. Such a great agency and right at the epitome of the city.
Yes, I do. I do work for a wonderful agency. I have been there 10 years. I just really, really, really enjoy my organization. And we not only look at the mother and the child, we look at the whole family. So we provide service for dads, moms, grandmas, the whole family. Your whole support system can come to Focus Hope and be supported. We have an early Head Start and a Head Start program. We also have Parents as Teacher program. It's a home-based program where teachers go out to the house to teach the mothers how to be their child's first teacher. We in our Head Start program, we also do the same thing. We go out to the homes of parents who don't feel comfortable with their child being in the center yet, and we also provide resources, activities, and things to those families. And so it's just really an awesome program. And if you guys get time, Google Focus Hope, look up what we do there. We're excited for all new families to join in. And if we don't have the resources, we are committed to going to find those resources for you.
Yes, you do. I use Focus Hope resources all the time as well. Love the folks over there at Focus Hope. Brooke, you want to tell us a little bit more about Honey Space for Moms? It's so unique. I had the opportunity to tour it, so I encourage those that are interested to look at it. It's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I loved having you there. It's always fun to show people around because they're like, wait, what? So what happens here? What? Honey Space for Moms is essentially a emotional wellness based community. So we have our mental health program. We have about 15 therapists and interns that provide both individual and couples psychotherapy. And then we have a whole group program. So we have our Honey Method group support program. So it's clinical in the sense that it's run by mental health trained either therapists or counselors. However, it has a very comfortable and peer-like, I guess, energy to it. So my whole kind of all started because I'm a therapist and I became a mom, and I was just blown away at what I couldn't find. So I created it selfishly for me. and then I found out that I wasn't the only one that wanted it. So it kind of grew from there. So our psychotherapy in group And then we also have a co-working space with on-site childcare. And that's always been, from my perspective, a mental health service. I know from others it's a more logistical service, but as a therapist, as I would, learn what was most challenging for the moms that I was working with, sometimes one of the things on the list was just this lack of ability to work either part-time or once in a while, have just a little bit of time, not need to hire a babysitter and not want to commit to daycare or preschool full-time, but to be able to be somewhere, have your child looked after, and be able to focus on yourself or your work for a period of time. So we have a nap room for moms. So if they want to use a couple hours and come and have their child looked after, and then they can take a nap. Or a lot of moms are just working really hard. Now especially, they're working away. So like grabbing those hours that they need so badly. So it's a really, beautiful, social, supportive program and space with incredible psychotherapists and team. We refer to Maria all the time over in Ann Arbor, and I talk to Laura all the time. She's a honey mama, and if anyone ever needs a midwife, I always know where to tell them to go. And I'm excited to connect with Lakeisha. I'm a very huge supporter in doula care. I hear so much from, like, especially partners, like, well, why would we need a doula? I can help. It'll be fine. And I'm like, that's great. No one's saying that you're not awesome and helpful. And this is really, really hard, and not one person needs to be the only, like, you need help too. Everyone needs support in this process. So yeah, honey, and we're doing all telehealth right now. All of our groups. So that's one thing. So a lot of people don't know from a mental health perspective, mental health psychotherapists and psychiatrists, we're licensed by state. Okay, so when you want to see, I had a friend in Chicago ask me, oh, can one of your therapists see me? No, because she's in Illinois and we're in Chicago, right? Or we're in Michigan. So I referred her somewhere in Chicago. However, there are sometimes things like a support group that's non-clinical. So a non-clinical support group can be something that is virtual now, especially, and available nationally. So that's one thing about our program is all of our psychotherapy, couples and private work is in Michigan. Many of our groups are only in Michigan because they're considered clinical, and some of our groups are not clinical. They're more support groups, and so they are available nationally, virtually. And one of them is our dad's group, which we just launched, which we're really excited about. And yeah, do you know Eric? Your face, I'm like, you know Eric? So he's amazing.
I sent him to you.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
I referred him to you.
You did. All of our resources here. So he's amazing. And then we also have our childbirth education, lactation support, and a sleep consultant, all available virtually and nationally as well. So, so yeah, I think combined on this screen, we kind of have it covered, guys.
Yeah, you really do. Thank you, everyone, for your words, your comments, your expertise. And just in our closing remarks, I'd like to encourage folks to check out everyone's website here, check in our comments for other resources. Also, speaking of non-clinical groups, March of Dimes does have some supportive pregnancy virtual groups. I actually get to take part in facilitating one of those, and it's just that. It's women from all over the country that log in the same time. We check in with each other. How are you doing? There's some educational topics, but mostly it's just women talking about, hey, this is what I'm feeling. What do you know about this? Where can I go for more information? So if you are pregnant, I encourage you, or thinking about becoming pregnant, or even if you've had a baby or you have small children, please take a look at all these resources. Even if you don't need them, there may come a point where you know a friend that might need them, or family member. So I thank you Thank you all, my speakers. You guys are fantastic. You're wonderful partners. And all of you, each one of these little boxes, so dedicated to women and their babies, their health, their mental health, and just their success. So thank you for joining us today. I really
Thank
appreciate
you for having us.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much.
you. Take
Thank
care.
you. All righty.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Take care.